Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Rebel News daily live stream. However, this is not a live stream. We had a major technical difficulty in Toronto HQ today, but that is not the problem of our viewers. So relying on a little bit of quick learning on my side and Alberta ingenuity, my friend and co-host Adam Soos and I are going to do what is normally the live stream. We're going to pre-record it, but we are going to do what we always do, and that's talk about the news of the day in an unscripted way. Unfortunately, because this is not live, we will not be able to interact with our viewers, which is one of the great things about the Rebel News live stream. But we do hope that you do choose to support us on the platforms that allow you to support us. Those are Rumble, Odyssey, and Super U. You can support the work that we do completely willingly over there through different forms of leaving us a tip. We will also be airing at least a portion of this on YouTube up until such time as we end up talking about things that YouTube doesn't allow us to talk about. So at that point, we will invite the people who are watching us on YouTube to migrate over to one of those other platforms that I just mentioned. So those are Rumble, Odyssey, and Super U. And I'm trying a little something new with my broadcasting software. So bear with me if you wouldn't mind, everybody, as Adam and I kick off the show. Adam, how's it going, by the way? You had a very exciting Monday morning in the sky, did you not?
Yes, I did. It was a bright and early morning. We get up pretty early, do our calls and all that kind of stuff. But we were up, and we were up for a couple hours before the light even came out. But we went up in a helicopter, covered the truck convoy that is making international headlines, actually being covered by other news agencies. Unbelievable. Certainly not with the same level of detail and integrity that we're covering it. As you know, our own Mocha is embedded with that truck convoy. But yeah, we got to take this unique perspective and fly overhead and watch the group as it began to gather. And as they started to roll out, we then made our way out on foot and drove over and got to wave at some folks as they were driving by. So it was definitely a pretty cool day.
Yeah, I think
you saw them too, though, right, in Edmonton? So what was that like?
Yeah, I did. I saw them as the trucks were coming from the west, rolling into Edmonton, picking up the Edmonton truckers. And I have covered convoys in the past. I covered many of the United We Roll the smaller ones, and then I sort of covered the big one as it kicked off. And there's something so great about a truck convoy. And it feels as though sometimes society needs to be reminded of the lessons of the movie Armageddon. And that is when all the fancy people and the politicians and the academics didn't know what to do, they send in the blue collar guys to save the world. And that is so often the case when, the academics can't admit they're wrong. The politicians are playing political games. It's always the normals, the rig hands, the truckers, the construction workers, the truckers. Those are the guys who end up saving the world when everybody else makes a mess of it. So here's to those truckers. And if people want to follow, by the way, our reports, we have a reporter, actually two of them, embedded in the convoy, Mocha Bezergan. Sorry, Mocha, I say your name wrong every time I say it, but Mocha Bezergan, he's on the convoy. You can follow his reports at convoyreports.com, and you can support his independent journalism, because all along the way, the mainstream media is going to talk about the truckers and talk about who they are, but they're never going to actually talk directly to them or their supporters. And I can see the demonization of the truck convoy is reaching a fevered pitch as it makes its way closer and closer to Ottawa. So Mocha's journalism is it's incredibly necessary to debunk the mainstream media narratives about the convoy and who's on it and who's supporting it.
100%. It's I love what you were talking about earlier, and it's so funny. I was not particularly a fan of this movie. And spoiler alerts if you haven't seen it, but this Don't Look Up movie, that's basically just like a giant metaphor for climate alarmism. But it's funny, and this is a massive spoiler, so don't pay attention. But they're sending this like American soldier patriot cliche guy, again, massive spoiler alert, to blow up and destroy the comet. And then the Apple tech guy's like, oh, well, we can mine it instead. So they turn this guy around and stop him from completing his heroic mission to blow up the comet. Like the blue collar soldier type class guy is going to take care of business. And then the big tech think tank politicos mess everything up for absolutely everyone. And I won't say how it ends, but yeah.
That was 2 hours of my life I'll never get back. That
I know, right?
The only
But
good
Ron
thing
Perlman
is,
was hilarious. Ron Perlman was pretty funny.
the only good thing is, and again, spoiler alert, everybody died at the end.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? They all had it coming, so it's fine. We should get to the news of the day though.
Yes.
Again, I'm trying something a little nifty with my broadcasting software. So let's see if this works out. All right. So from Blacklock's reporter today, the government flies hip hop to the Arctic. Department, there's nothing these people won't waste your money on. The Department of Canadian Heritage is billing taxpayers to fly hip hop dancers, rappers, and African drummers to Nunavut to observe Black History Month in February. Accounts show documents detail nearly $83,000 in funding, including talent fees for one senator to visit Nunavut. This is not something I wish to discuss with you, said Stephanie Bernard. I bet not, of Iqaluit, president of the Nunavut Black History Society, that successfully applied for subsidies. I'm surprised they even had to apply, by the way. Yeah. Bernard declined to comment on access to information records detailing grants to the club that totaled $250,000 since 2019. What are they doing with all that money? Adam, help us.
It's, and you know, when I first originally saw $83,000, I was like, well, that's not bad considering the government's involved. That is how bad things have gotten. Wasn't it $80,000 that embroiled Paul Martin in the scandal that ended his political career? Yeah. And now, how far have we come that $83,000 is how much they spent on sending a hip hop troupe to the coldest parts of the country? It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And it's so emblematic of how willy-nilly they'll throw money around. Like, God forbid they help a veteran out whose limb was blown off fighting for freedom, liberating a country. We don't have any money for those people. But $83,000 to fly a hip-hop group up there, no problem. $10 million for a terrorist, no problem. That stuff, like, and not to say that those things are equivalent by any stretch of the imagination, but we've lost something of the core sensibilities of the country. Inflation is absolutely skyrocketing. Government spending is contributing to that. And this is just so emblematic of the type of ridiculous thing. Frankly, I'm sure there's probably someone within those communities who does hip hop themselves. It's a small town. You don't see small town rural Alberta getting $1 million from the government to fly Garth Brooks in. They could have had a local person do a show and everyone would have enjoyed it and it would have been authentic local hip hop culture on display. But no, they did this. It's the most liberal government thing I've heard of, possibly.
Adam, there are 7,700 people in all of Iqaluit. 7,700. This one club has gotten from the government $250,000 alone since 2019. Yeah. What are they doing with this money?
I'm literally picturing like all of them decked out and pimped out Cadillacs with Snoop Dogg blaring, rolling down the streets, all gold rims. That's what they should have. But given how government assets are allocated, I'm imagining that no one's life is improved, and that they got one massively overproduced performance or two out of it. I can't imagine that it is ameliorating the lives of Black communities there by any stretch of the imagination. I can virtually guarantee that those funds are not accomplishing that in any way, shape, or form.
I'm interested to know what Stephanie Bernard, president of the Nunavut Black History Society, makes every year. I bet you.
I bet she doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, no kidding. I bet you it's somewhere totaling $250,000 since 2019. I'm willing to bet.
Like, you're the head of this group that's getting $250,000, and someone's like, "What is going on here? This is taxpayers' money. I don't want to talk about that." Excuse me? I think we should do an information request on that. Let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's a club, so it's a grant, so I can't really find out. But
Yeah,
I
I
would still
suppose.
like to see what her application looks like. Like,
Yeah,
because she would have to make an application. Apparently, they applied for it, which is actually surprising because they're just usually they're like, here's
yeah.
this is somebody else's money. It's fine. That's usually what they're like. But
Well, they spent more than this on a cover page, so like the amount honestly isn't that shocking to me, and that's sad. It should be. Like
yeah,
the level to which we've swayed from sensible spending concerns is so dramatic. Now we're like, well, it's only like a few $1 million, or it's only a few extra million of these, a few extra million of those. It's only
yeah.
one Toblerone bar going missing, or one airplane full of alcohol. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's just
all.
my
I mean,
stolen Toblerones.
this is symptomatic of both society at large, but I mean, it's more like it's so Justin Trudeau.
Well, and like if you're looking for government handouts, just name yourself the president of a marginalized group
Yeah,
society. And it doesn't matter that you are in a place of 7,700 people where almost everyone's indigenous, by the way. If
mhm.
you are, in charge of the Black History Month Society, here's $250,000. It's fine. It's just taxpayer money. It's no big
Yeah,
deal. While the cost of groceries is out of control up there, and there, could be other things done to address what it's like to live in a marginalized
yeah,
community like Iqaluit. But
yeah.
no, we're doing this stuff. We're flying
Well,
well-paid CanCon hip hop artists up there.
and the other thing here is like hip hop is massive in Indigenous communities. It just is. In fact, there's a bunch of Indigenous hip hop artists. It would make like a little bit more sense, like that, like Superman. I don't know if you're familiar with him. I think he's from the United
Yep.
States, but incredible Indigenous hip hop artist. If there was at least some sort of connection where there's like enrichment within the Indigenous community, and or people within that community are getting paid and creating art or something, you could see. I mean, not that I'm really in favor of that kind of spending, but you could at least be like, oh, well, okay. But this is just like we're flying in folks and we're dropping $250,000 on a concert. Yeah, it's nonsense, and it's pretty self-evident why she didn't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
I
Don't
don't want
ask
to
me
talk about
these
that.
tough questions. Now, next story. Moving on to something that's still YouTube safe for now. However,
Yeah,
I anticipate this to be changing very, very quickly.
yes,
Fight Club, I don't know if you can see this, but Fight
yeah.
Club's ending for the Chinese release was changed to this, and now I'm waiting for someone to fanfic a sequel based on the censored ending. So this censored ending, if I can bring it up and if everyone would be so kind as to bear with me here. Adam, do you remember the original ending of Fight Club?
Yeah, everything blows up and it descends into anarchy, and yeah. I mean,
Yeah, so
yeah.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say though, but I mean, and I'm sure you're gonna get there, but maybe we should just read this first out there and talk
Yeah.
about this, and then juxtapose it to the intention of the entire film. We're talking about films a lot today.
Yeah, this is it looks as though there's a little bit of Chinese authoritarian snitch culture happening here. But anyways, through the clue provided by Tyler, the police rapidly figured out the whole plan and arrested all the criminals, successfully preventing the bomb from exploding. After the trial, they went all the way to trial. Tyler was sent to a lunatic asylum receiving psychological treatment. He was just discharged from the hospital in 2012. So he's out now. I guess that's the moral of this story.
Like, I know there's a blue check mark there, but is that definitely real? Because it sounds so crazy. Like, I mean, I believe it's China, so it sounds so crazy. So that's right. I mean, the entire purpose of that film is how, like, I mean, people may disagree, but like a homogenized, structured, single-use friend consumptive society without substance is fundamentally unnatural and
Yep.
defies our human nature. And when we're subjected to that for so long, we create escape mechanisms, which would be Tyler Durden. So the entire purpose of the film is that humans can't survive in Chinese culture. And I don't mean traditional Chinese culture, I mean communist Chinese culture.
Right.
Human beings cannot survive in that environment. That's the point of that film. And and they've tweaked the end. Like, I mean, if people aren't seeing through that tweak at the ending, so their implication is that he was creating these clues not to reveal to himself that he's Tyler Durden, but that he was trying to reveal to the Chinese authorities what the ploy was. I mean, that's some
Yeah.
creative writing.
Yeah,
That's,
they just basically they went, so it ends apparently. I'm reading this on the Express. The ending saw him kill off his fictional alter ego before watching many buildings implode, implying the plan to bring down civilization had begun. And I think they were going to destroy like everyone's credit records to sort of reset who and what people were.
Yeah.
However, while the new version in China does end with the narrator murdering Durden, the explosion was replaced with a black screen and a message saying what happened next in the newly altered plot. Wow.
Was the Pixies song still playing? Where is my mind? Over the black screen. I've seen the movie a few times. I know the soundtrack. It's okay. But if that song was still playing over top of that, that is absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I guess in the Chinese version, Fight Club's new edited conclusion sees the state as the ultimate winner over the people who are disruptors, which is, I guess, the story of China, with a healthy dose of snitch in there too. That a little bit. So that's fun. And again, I don't know how long. I mean, we can joke about what China's doing.
Yeah.
But big tech censors the internet all the time. There are things that we cannot talk about on YouTube because YouTube will nuke our channel. And really, how is that any different than what China's doing with this movie Fight Club? If there are certain things that we know to be true, medical studies, scientific studies, even people's personal anecdotes where we've seen supporting documents, but we can't share those on YouTube because they go against the official narrative that YouTube wants out there. How is it really any different than what China's doing? Really?
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you're absolutely dead on there. Like realistically, our stream carries on, but in the YouTube version of the stream and the China version of the stream, it cuts off and everyone learned their moral lesson about the topic we're not supposed to talk about.
Right.
It's a different ending. YouTube has a different ending, just like China does, of this story that we're telling. And it's hauntingly how similar it is because it's about it aligning with their values, it aligning with their convictions, which is what they changed this entire film to align with their convictions, to align with their values. So yeah,
we all get the Fight Club treatment. Isn't that weird?
Exactly.
I mean, we have to make YouTube trailers for our videos that are not even all that particularly spicy. They just happen to be particularly accurate. And we have to just make trailers to direct people to go to other platforms where they can find our work. And that's exactly what people have to do with this movie now. You can watch the Chinese version, or you can get the bootleg original American version somewhere along the way if you live behind the censorship wall of China. Anyways, we should move along.
I just want to say his name was Robert Paulson before we move on, and that's the last thing I'm going to say.
We should move along, and you know what? We're like 20 minutes into the show, and nothing catastrophic has happened. We're doing okay, Adam.
You're doing great.
Good. Thank you. Next thing, it's about the absentee rates in schools, and I've got some opinions about this because I think these are artificially high absentee rates, but we'll get to the story and then we'll give our opinions as we tend to do. So this is 111 Ontario schools are reporting staff and student absence rates above 50%. New data by the Education Ministry shows 337 schools reported staff and student absence rates above 30%. Gosh, that's a lot. More than 100 Ontario schools, blah, 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 blah. Let's keep reading. The data includes all absences, not just those that might be related to COVID-19, making it tough to gauge the impact of the Omicron variant on Ontario's school system now that the province is no longer publicly reporting cases in schools. For me, I think, I'm going to bring myself back onto the screen here. I think this has a lot to do with how everybody freaks out when you have the sniffles and you have to go home. Like you can't just go to school with a pocket full of Kleenex. Now the second you have like you clear your throat and they're like calling your parents to come pick you up, even though it's like, no, it's just a dry throat. It's the furnace going all the time. It's -30. And so everybody freaks out and everybody goes home. And so you have these enormous absentee rates, but it's just an overreaction to the fact that if someone clears their throat, everybody thinks they have the Delta variant, not just the Omicron sniffles.
Yeah. And I don't know if we want to politely say goodbye to our friends on YouTube per the edit now and really get into this. Is that the
Sure.
Yeah, let's do that.
Unfortunately, friends, we're going to now talk about things that big tech has decided we aren't allowed to talk about, even though they are our honestly held opinions supported by evidence and facts. We just can't do that. So if you are watching us on YouTube, we don't want to abandon you. We want you to join us on either Odyssey, Rumble, or Super U, 3 neutral platforms that don't care about your politics and we don't care about theirs. So if you would just take a second to migrate over there and we will continue the conversation over there.